This is your life, and it's ending 1 minute at a time.
This war stops now.
End the war. Bring freedom to our people.
No. No more tricks. No more lies. Only truth.
This is where we hold them! This is where we fight!
Welcome to the Stop and Listen podcast. I'm your host, Jamie. So, if this is your first time watching the show, that was a new intro. That picture of Laken Rilay was new, and that's going to stay up there for a while. Because this has to stop, and we have to have a face. She's not with us anymore. She should be, and let's not forget her. I'm going to try to be a different podcast host here. I mean, I hear a lot of my favorite podcast hosts, man, they have their, they will very passionately talk about issues and then move on to other issues. And we're covering the news. That tends to happen, but there are certain things we need to circle back to. And it doesn't matter how you vote. Having an unsecure border is not safe. The United States itself, how we conduct ourselves around the world, on one hand, it makes us hate it, makes us subject to attack. Obviously, 9/11. And then many other thwarted attacks since then, which, oddly enough, have you heard any? When's the last failed shoe bombing or whatever? Haven't heard from much lately. Why is that? Why are we not seeing any failed terrorist attacks lately? Is it because they're so good, it has it so locked down, and they're just keeping us in the dark about it? Ignorance is bliss? Or are they being silent? Are they waiting for their opportunity? And so many, and let's be honest here, it's married white women who, these type of policies, it's not about compassion. People are being trafficked across the border. Athens, Georgia, they have the policies of what a sanctuary city, despite what their mayor says. The mayor of Athens did a press conference, and it didn't go over real well.
I've received many calls, many emails, many queries from the press in recent days about this notion of a sanctuary city, and so I want to lay some things to rest here today. This term sanctuary city doesn't have a sole legal or procedural definition. You can look in Georgia statute, and you can find a clear definition for a unified government. You can look in contractual language, and you can find out exactly what it means to be an SEC institution. Sanctuary city doesn't track with either of those.
Okay. Innocent woman was beaten to death in your city. And he's on defense. He's acting like he was a party too.
You're sick. You know that? You're really sick.
So let's look up this guy. So this is a man who comes from education. The way he was speaking almost sounds like lawyer talk. So he's actually an educator.
And so that term means different things to different people depending on the context of the discussion.
We know what it means.
Many of the elements.
Liar.
Many of the elements.
Liar.
Liar.
We are here to listen.
Liar.
You're a liar.
We are here to listen.
Liar.
There'll be time for questions.
You are guilty and got blood on your head for this murder, sir.
Many of the aspects that are ascribed to sanctuary cities
We know what sanctuary
are
city
things.
means.
Bravo.
Oh, and forget about RT. He's just pissed off because he recently found out what a loser he is.
Speak out. When in truth, speak out.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers?
Speak the truth.
The truth. You can't handle the truth.
That man is on the defense. And what he's saying isn't even necessarily a lie. He's spinning the truth. He's doing what politicians do.
No, Jackson, don't move.
I'd like to remember you just as you are. Fired!
That are disallowed by Georgia law. And we contribute a document every year to the Georgia Department of Audits indicating that we do not correspond to these definitions under state law.
Yes, you do.
And no policies have been adopted by the mayor and commission that have created sanctuary city status in Athens.
You need to resign.
One protocol that sometimes arises.
Resign!
Resign now!
You allow
One protocol.
this to happen, sir.
One protocol that sometimes
voted for
arises
this.
is the approach that sheriff's offices and jails take to what are termed detainers. The sheriff's office approach has varied over the years, but this question, again, in the purview of the elected sheriff, honors detainers when issued by a federal judge or federal magistrate. In the main, I caution against conflating immigration and crime. The data demonstrates that the two are not connected.
To say that, just to defend yourself that way. So not doing a super deep dive. I mean, I'm looking this up as I go, and I will edit it for your guys' viewing pleasure. But I heard some audio on that what this mayor said was in fact a lie. And here's a video of him defending a 2019 resolution. Apparently this is the lie. Apparently this proves what the protesters were accusing him of.
Well, almost 1 week after Laken Rilay's body was found near the running trail of the University of Georgia's campus, the mayor of Athens, Clarke County, held a news conference on new and proposed safety upgrades. Now, according to federal law enforcement, the suspect charged with murdering Rilay entered the U.S. unlawfully in 2022.
And as 11 Alive's Tracy A. McPeer reports, today's news conference devolved into a screaming match about whether Athens is a sanctuary city.
It'll be time for questions.
You are guilty and got blood on your hands for this murder, sir.
At a news conference in Athens on Wednesday, protesters accused Athens Clarke County Mayor Kelly Girtz of creating a sanctuary city in Athens, which they say led to the killing of Laken Rilay, despite the suspect in the case, Jose Ibarra, being arrested previously.
And no policies have been adopted by the mayor and commission that have created sanctuary city status in Athens.
Protesters disagree.
8/20/2019.
Citing that on August 20th of 2019, a resolution was signed by Girtz in support of Athens' immigrant, undocumented, and Latinx community.
You called me a white supremacist in your resolution.
In the resolution.
See the Latinx. That's a term, again, some white women came up with so we didn't improperly gender Latinos or Latinas. Because if you see an individual and you need to assume what they are, and you say, oh, he looks Hispanic. Now, Hispanic is not gendered. Latino, Latina is, and that's how they speak. And they don't like it. But, again, thanks to white women coming in, saving the day, protecting feelings that aren't even there.
Athens Clarke County leaders denounced white supremacy. Girtz claims the political climate at the time necessitated that language.
Where you had the President of the United States speaking in the most vile terms about people who were foreign born.
The purpose of the news conference was to discuss proposed security measures, including...
Do you hear this? Because Donald Trump is mean, they had to become a sanctuary city and welcome people like that have no respect for law. Well, don't you understand? These people are pagans. They say they don't believe in God, but they sure act as if they do. It's hard to identify what it is, what their God is. But they, just like they do at the abortion mills, but they take Laken Rilay and they put her on their altar to Satan, I suppose. and offer her up. Because, hey, you're going to have to break a few eggs if you want to fundamentally change this country. Remember? Remember that? Fundamentally change this country? Well, it's still happening. We are fundamentally changing as a country. We will now take young women, defenseless. If they don't make it, they don't make it. If you're familiar with Karl Marx at all, he's a real piece of shit. I don't know really where this thought comes from. I assume Karl Marx, but it could be Saul Alinsky. But they say when you want revolution, when you want to overthrow the system, the problems are the middle class. And some people seem as if we've had a war against the middle class for about 2008 or so, because the middle class keeps things going the way they are, because they're comfortable and they'd like a little bit more. So they help keep the upper class in power. And if you can take that middle class and bring them down a peg or two, then you got enough poor people to start burning shit down. That's big picture, right? Now, speaking about safety. Now, there's been people in our country. I mean, we're never obviously completely safe. Things can happen anywhere. Evil is everywhere. I think a lot of the lower class people, I don't like using that term, the proletarians, as Marx might say, yeah, they also don't, they have not been safe for some time in this country. What's happening is the middle class is now becoming a lot less safe. And that's our own fault for kind of just sitting in our comfort and our safety in our suburbs and allowing America to be fundamentally transformed. It's not about party. It's not about Republicans or Democrats. This is about safety of our children. Laken Rilay had parents. She had a life. Look at this rally, and thank God for Twitter. So the Twitter account End Wokeness. Joe Biden kneeled, eulogized, and cried for a violent criminal who died during an arrest. He immediately called the Floyd family and posted about him 27 times on Twitter. He still hasn't said Laken Riley's name. Listen, you want to be compassionate, you create a very safe country. Well, start being compassionate for our own children first. If our border is not secure and we don't know who is in our country, we're not aware of the criminality of it, then that's not sympathetic. You can't just assume the best for people. It's not about party. It's not about ideology. This is about safety. We need a big, thick, tall wall with some doors on it. And build it on the northern side too. Things must change, people. Things must change. So, in the news, it's Friday night, and I don't have a date. I'm here with you folks. I am cooking some shrimp. I need to check on, actually. One moment. All right, I've got some shrimp in the oven. I'm going to cook me up a steak and shrimp. So what is going on in the world?
Good evening. I'm Ron Burgundy, and this is what's happening in your world tonight.
So Trump and Biden went to the border. Trump went to Eagle Pass, where the worst of the trafficking was occurring. Biden went to Brownsville, I think. Let's see what our former president, had to say.
Brownsville traditionally has been ground zero for this problem, and it ebbs and flows all across the southern border.
The southern border in the national spotlight today as President Biden and former President Trump both visit Texas. Immigration remains a top issue ahead of the 2024 election, and it's a big topic of discussion here in Georgia as well after last week's murder of Laken Rilay on the UGA campus. Police found the body of Augusta University.
What he is doing is just unbelievable. Joe Biden will never say Laken Riley's name, but we will say it and we will remember it. We're not going to forget her.
So I watched a podcast that showed what looked like a Trump ad about Laken Riley. I can't find it on Twitter.
We are learning sickening new details about the murder of Georgia nursing student Laken Rilay. The police report reveals that the 22-year-old was beaten to death with a mystery object, beaten so badly that she suffered a, quote, disfigured skull. Her body was then reportedly dragged to a secluded area. The suspect...
He bashed her head. He tried to rape her. She resisted. She called the police, which they're not releasing that phone call. I don't know, because see, it's that kind of thing's always presented as a political thing. Like, oh, what are they hiding? It was the last moments before this woman died. Like, I wouldn't want to accidentally hear a loved one's last words. So, it not being released I don't know.
In this atrocious crime is a Venezuelan illegal immigrant who crossed the border back in 2022. Republicans are calling Riley's death a result of President Biden's lax border policies.
Okay, so that's one thing I don't like. And they do this with so many different issues. Both sides do it, but the Republicans are really bad. It's like, we've got to solve the Biden immigration problem. Biden is an elderly man. He's corrupt. He's incompetent. The problem our country has with Biden will resolve itself in time, irregardless. If you solve the Joe Biden problem, and then that's immediately followed by the Gavin Newsom problem at the border, or the Kamala Harris problem at the border, or the Michelle Obama problem at the border. Stop attacking the party or the person. Attack the idea. We need an exchange of ideas.
Democratic Congresswoman Katie Porter is defending the president. She says, quote, it's important we don't make too much out of this one innocent girl's murder. Watch.
Well, I think when a horrible tragedy like this happens, I think whenever we're dealing with violent crime, there is a sense of outrage, of sadness, and of loss. But I think the important thing to focus on is any one instance shouldn't shape our overall immigration policy, which has so many different facets, including
Molly
economic.
Tibbetts. And I don't know if it's this. I don't know if Molly Tibbetts it's the same case. It very well probably is. Okay, so I put in Molly Tibbetts. All right. Well, let's spell it properly. I'm going to go to the Des Moines Register. How all these, all these websites that require you to pay them money to read their articles, They've all got to be going out of business very, very quickly, right? 1 second. Oh, man. If y'all don't have a cast iron pan to cook up steak in with some butter, oh my gosh. You can do so much with that. So Molly Tibbetts was another pretty young woman who was murdered by an illegal immigrant. And there was also that story, I think it happened in California, where a guy who was also a legal immigrant had a gun and was on like a boardwalk and shot, or he said it accidentally went off, but and then it was a direct shot. Apparently, it hit the ground and then hit her, and she died. And I remember like, oh, hey, let's not turn the fact that the killer was an illegal immigrant into a big deal. How about we just don't have illegal immigrants. You can say, oh, well, not all illegal immigrants are murderers. Well, of course not. But the fact that we can eliminate that part of murderers, the legal immigrant part of being the murdered, and then we'll deal with the legal immigrant murders and the citizen murders. So we got citizen murders. That's probably the very, very vast majority of murders. Then you got probably a good chunk of illegal immigrant murders. And you probably have a very, very small percent that's legal immigrant murders. Let's stop murder. That would be a great political campaign, wouldn't it? Stop murder. Oh, while I look for my next story, a quick aside. So this Fannie Willis case in Georgia, if y'all are paying attention, it's quite entertaining. And Megyn Kelly's got some really good coverage on it. She used to be an attorney. It's kind of her zone. She gets real excited about that kind of stuff. This woman is not a scholar. She became the DA of Fulton County and went after Trump. And that's fine. But she hired her boyfriend, seemingly, or got involved with someone underneath her very quickly and then did not have him removed from the case. And she paid him significantly more than his counterparts. Like $600,000 apparently to like less than 100. And then they went off on trips and enjoyed the spoils. Joe Biden became vice president. His son went to the board of Ukraine, Burisma energy company, and they started collecting money. And the Pelosi's and how successful they are in the stock market. Now, this isn't a partisan thing either. Now, I'm just naming Democrats. That's because they're really bad about it. And I assure you, Republicans are probably just as bad or better at covering it up. I don't know, but it's mostly Democrats. But it doesn't matter. I don't want Republicans doing it either. They enrich themselves by taking from us. If you're a Democrat, you should be against that. I understand if you hate Trump and you want him to go away, if you hate Trump and you just want him away from power, okay. And even if you hate Trump so much, you've been convinced that he is Hitler incarnate or Mussolini incarnate or whatever. Do you need the person? Are you okay with the person going after him being a immoral thief? Because she was having an affair with a married man. Taking money from the taxpayer so that they can enjoy the spoils of war. And that's what this is. There's a Cold War going on against Donald Trump. And we are suffering the consequences of it. Like the whole the Mueller investigation. The Mueller investigation. How much did that cost the American taxpayer? Mueller investigation cost $32 million. to tell you that that man that you elected didn't collude with Russia. $32 million. Oh, folks, this steak is going to be good. See, you know what I found? I'm 41 years old. And in the last year, I've realized I wasn't doing steak correctly. The cooking the steak, very important. Now, apparently, it's better if you cook it at room temperature. I mean, it's better if like you get the meat up to like as close to room temperature as possible, you know, without going bad or anything, and then it cooks up better. Makes sense. I usually don't think ahead enough or too impatient for that. As I said, cast iron and butter. I take one side of the steak, I put seasoned salt. The other side, I put ground pepper and garlic salt. You cook it up a little more intensely on the first side, then slow cook the bottom side. But what I discovered this year is it's actually how you cut the steak can increase how good it tastes. So say your steak is like right here in front of you. What you want to cut thin strips. That's how you want to eat it. Thin strips. I'm telling you. It's the way to live. So I keep seeing this. Trump at the CPAC was last weekend. Apparently he was a jerk. Trump's a jerk. I hate him. I hate him.
Lord, all you need is one stare, but for Biden you need many. But when I imitate him with the stares, because he never can find his way. If you ever see Secret Service runs up and grabs him, helps him off the stage. This is what we have negotiating nuclear weapons. So he finishes his speech, and do you ever notice he always finishes it? The speeches last about, would you say, average 2-3 minutes? Right? Very quick. They're very quick and not good. But the press gives him good marks. I remember when he made such a bad State of the Union speech. Everything was stumbling, mumbling. He didn't know what the hell he was doing. And I said, I'm going to watch CNN, MSDNC to find out what they say, because that was one of the worst speeches. They said, not since FDR has there been a speech so magnificently delivered. I'm telling you, I've never, ever forgotten it. Not since FDR. I said, it's impossible. They're fake. They're terrible. But you know what? When he goes, and he always points, he goes like this. Thank you. Where am I? Thank you. And then he goes. And he points. You ever notice? And it's always he ends up going in the opposite direction ultimately. But he goes.
He's a stand-up comedian.
And then.
He's doing a routine.
But if there's a wall behind him, he ends up walking into the wall. And then one of these incredible guys from Secret Service, all these beautiful guys, they run up stage. Look at these guys, like central casting. Right? They'll run up stage, they'll grab them, and they're not meant to smile. You know, they're very hard lines. I tell stories like this. I guess they're trained that way. Never smile. You say, good morning. Well, sure. They actually turn away. It's good. This way you don't have to say good morning all the time. No, they train them. But so one of these guys will run up and grab them and take them off the stage. This is what we have as our president. But the worst thing is when I do that, the fake news. I call up my wife, our great first lady. She was a great first. People love her. Yeah, people love her. Oh, look at that. Wow. Mercedes, that's pretty good. Yeah, she's good. And she loves our country and she loves the people. It's true. When I give these big rallies, we give rallies, they say, we love our first lady. They have signs, we love her. They always show a high heel, you know. We love our first lady. But I call up our first lady, I say, so baby, how good was that? She goes, you were okay. She's a very tough critic. I'll go into a group, I'll speak in front of 55, 56, 68,000 people sometimes. I pull her up, I'll say, how good was I tonight? Was that unbelievable? She goes, well, your hair didn't look good. Oh, that's not good.
See, I mean,
it's very hard to get once in a while she goes, "You were really good tonight." But that's like a major.
that's probably like that's very interesting because he's clearly very narcissistic. And like, if a Fox News host made those comments about him, he would go on the attack. So that's very interesting, actually.
But I said, in this case, how good was that tonight? She said, you were really good tonight, but what happened? You couldn't find your way off the stage. Because the fake news said Donald Trump couldn't find his way off the stage. I said, wow. Or when I interject a name, like I go, our president, Barack Hussein Obama, Rush Limbaugh, remember? He would always, right, Seb? Rush would go, Barack Hussein. You couldn't hear Barack or Obama, but the name Hussein, he'd be screaming. I don't know exactly what he meant by that. I think they do. But he'd go, Barack Hussein. So I'd go, Barack Hussein Obama, our president, has done this. Now, I meant that because there are those people that say he's running our country because Joe is not strong on aptitude. There are those, we don't know that that's true. But they go out and they say, Donald Trump, headline. Donald Trump doesn't know who the president of our country. He thinks Obama's the president, Lou. Look at the great Lou Dobbs. He thinks Obama is the president. So when I'm sarcastic, because I'm sort of a sarcastic guy, I find it but it's very dangerous because they take it very seriously. But it's a very serious subject because of what happened. To finish the first story, what happened? Hey, by the way, isn't this better than reading off a frickin' teleprompter? Right? Right?
I mean, he's got Tulsi Gabbard on his side, someone who ran against him in the last election. Okay, she was trying to get the Democratic nomination to run against him. And now Tulsi Gabbard praises him. You hear story after story that this man is a good man even when no one's looking. That was a plot point in the movie 7 Pounds. That was an amazing movie, I thought. But he's a good man even when people aren't watching. Yeah, he's also an asshole. Well, so why are they trying to stop him so much? You got to think about that, folks. I understand he's an asshole. Let's just say he's a prick, and so is Joe Biden. We don't want to be governed by assholes. We'd like people to be. We'd like to be governed by people like we think that are like us, by nice people. But I guess maybe sometimes you got to be a prick. Why are they so against him? Because he's not conservative. Any Democrats that come to him, they could make a deal. He's a deal maker. He loves saying he makes deals. War. He doesn't like innocent people dying. That's why they hate him. That's why they hate him. So Victor Davis Hanson, I seen a video by him that I wanted to play, which actually ties in with what Trump just said. I had not planned out at all, but I did have this saved in my watch later. He's an American military historian. How the hell do you become a historian? You know what I mean? Like, we kind of cool. A historian, you know? Like, how much... I mean, if I pontificate on YouTube about a certain topic long enough, will I be considered a historian? A professor. Okay.
Obama never moved the country as left as he wanted to. He was too timid, and he felt that he wasn't yet ready. He would hurt his legacy if he didn't get reelected or what. It was too dangerous. So now, with Joe Biden, he's living his dream. Remember what he said? He's on tape. My dream is to phone in the presidency. I would like to have a third term, but not if I had to work. I would just like to sit in my basement and just tell people what's going to do. And that, he said it, and that's what he's doing right now. The Obamas are.
And then let Biden take the shrapnel because he doesn't like Biden. He can get all his pieces in place while Biden gets blamed for it. So 2024 could be checkmate. We don't know. I would like to believe that our country is stronger than that, but of course we have a breaking point. We're going to have a breaking point at some point. Whatever.
Obama never in my basement and just tell people what's going to do. And that, he said it, and that's what he's doing right now. The Obamas are running the country. When my point is, they want Joe Biden the way he is because he's a construct. He's just a cardboard person they cut out and they plopped him down in the basement and they make him move once in a while, and then they run all of the agencies. Obama's responsible for the border. He's responsible for the whole crime epidemic. This is what he wanted. And Biden was very useful.
People would ask me, knowing what you know now, do you wish like you had a third term? And I used to say, you know what, if I could make an arrangement where I had a stand-in, a front man or front woman, and they had an earpiece in, and I was just in my basement in my sweats, looking through the stuff, and then I could sort of deliver the lines, but somebody else was doing all the talking and ceremony. I'd be fine with that.
Barack Obama, name it, just name it. We came into that presidency with people on both sides of the political aisle that were really working hard to put race behind us and make it incidental to who we are. And all during that campaign, he take a gun to a knife fight, get in their faces. My grandmother was scared of black men, threw her under the bus. Michelle, they raised the bar on me. Never been proud. Damn right me. I got so sick of it. He ran about, I'm to the right of Hillary. As soon as he got in there, it was socialist medical Obamacare, which I think the medical system was never recovered from. And then he remanufactured the entire Middle East. And
the medical stuff, that is something the government doing it for us is not the answer. The misery of this country is so high because people have to have their medical insurance. They have conditions even that they cannot do without insurance. And they are stuck at jobs because of you have to switch health insurance when you switch employers for some reason. That's not how it should work. It should work like car insurance. It's you pay it, you carry it with you. It has nothing to do with your employers. It's keeping you locked in. It's keeping you enslaved. In a way. I hate using that terminology. I hate it. I've gone off on friends for describing their day at work as slavery. But in this context, it's kind of fitting because if you would like to go expand your horizons, you want a different job, but you have to have that insurance. Well,
was the most anti-Israeli president we've ever had. He alienated a lot of the Sunni monarchies, and then he promoted Iran, and the Shia circle and triangle, whatever it is, Hezbollah, Hamas, Lebanon, Syria. We had the bombing of Libya where the Gaddafi epigon is that the children were going to gradually restructure Libya. They probably would have lost power eventually, but it was the idea you're going to go in there and bomb and just destroy that country. Then we had the Syrian Red Line. Remember that? Brought the Soviets back into the Middle East for the first time in 40 years. And by the way, they're still there.
See, I mean, the Arab Spring. Y'all remember the Arab Spring and a bunch of Arab countries threw over their governments? Odd how that happened. The timing of when that happened. I don't quite understand. Of course, I don't even have any theories. I don't even have any crazy conspiracy theories on why that happened when it happened. But if you don't think it's tied in, well, that's probably why you vote the way you do, and that's probably why our country is in the condition it is. But hey. Okay, so dinner is almost...
We had the hot
ready.
mic where basically that was the green light that got Putin into Ukraine. When he said, give me space, Vladimir, tell Vladimir to give me space, I'll be flexible in missile defense. My last election, Putin gave him space. We dismantled missile defense, which would be very valuable right now. And Eastern Poles would have been very happy to have it. And then he went into Crimea and the Donbass, etc. That was his foreign policy. We had the whole Trayvon would have looked like the child they never had. You name it.
Yeah, I mean that.
It was just in your.
That one thing. That's like the worst thing any president has ever said. That set our country back decades. In the heat of the moment, him saying something like that, however stupid that was. Well, we are a forgiving country. Redemption is possible. You just have to say, you know what? I screwed up. And the time to do that was when our country was being burnt down. That probably would have been the point for him to actually get up there and say, stop it. But hey, he started all this shit. He wanted it.
Face in your face, and suddenly everybody started to recalibrate their tribal affinities. And then this completely nefarious, debunked charlatan, but a sinister one, not just a nonchalant charlatan. Al Sharpton was rehabilitated, and what was in the White House every week? This Freddie's Market, Crown Heights racist. Tell them Jews to come over here in their yarmulke. We blacks were doing this when you homos. It was homophobic. It was racist. It was anti-Semitic, and all of a sudden he's central point man for Obama. Go on and on and on. The one thing about Obama people don't realize is that, yes, Obama won twice. And yes, he raised record amounts of money. And yes, he ran brilliant campaigns. But over his tenure, he lost 1,400 state and local offices to Republicans. Right. And he came in with a super majority in the Senate and the House. And when he left, he had lost the House and the Senate and the presidency. That's hard to do in a country that's controlled by leftist institutions. He was sitting in the meeting when John Brennan laid out the whole FBI Operation Crossfire Hurricane, and he heard what Hillary Clinton was doing. He knew all about his Department of Justice Attorney General meeting with Bill Clinton during the whole Hillary thing. You name it. This goes all the way back to Tony Resco and what his Chicago career. And now he has the gumption to come out every once in a while and lecture us on racial relations and stereotyping when he has what? Not the Chicago beautiful home, not the Kalorama mansion, not the 40-acre Martha's Vineyard mansion, but the Hawaii mansion. And he lectures us on white supremacy, white privilege, etc. Remember, he hijacked the John Lewis funeral and started giving us rants about Puerto Rico and the filibuster being a racist idea. I could not believe that. Here you are at a funeral, and he's supposed to be giving a eulogy, and he starts ranting about getting rid of the Jim Crow relic era filibuster at a funeral. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, who filibustered Sam Alito? Wasn't it you? Right. Isn't it you? You tried to stop his nomination by doing what? Filibustering? And, it changed the Democratic Party. They had a party of Bill Clinton. I know Bill Clinton was corrupt. I know he was
evil,
untrustworthy, but he was a realist and a pragmatist. And Newt Gingrich gave us 4 years of balanced budget. I know taxes were too high. I know all that, but we were not borrowing trillions of dollars. You could work Nancy Pelosi, Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton in 1992 and 1996 Democratic conventions. They gave speeches about open borders as a bad thing. and legal-only immigration. That was the Democratic Party. You could at least work with it. It wasn't a Jacobin party. He did that. Obama did that.
We went from abortion being safe, legal, and rare to on-demand up until birth. And, in certain circumstances, we might have to, dispatch from after the fact. But, yes, the Democratic Party, the people still there, even in the 80s, were always against illegal immigration. Now they're for it. You see what's happening here? The racial division, the change in immigration status, the change of abortion. So in 2011, 2012, when Obama was running for re-election against Mitt Romney, Vice President Joe Biden started talking about the gay agenda and something or other, and it was like, apparently that was kind of like poo-pooed, saying that was the agenda for once they were in office. They weren't supposed to start talking about that before they were reelected. Of course, they got reelected anyway, and it didn't work. And then since then, it's been gay, 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 and now we've gone into transitioning kids and cutting off their body parts. I don't know who's behind it, but Victor Davis Hanson, the historian, seems to. And I've come to the same conclusion, even though I barely really listened to much of this man has to say. So, I don't know. And to finish up from the Babylon Bee, Biden arrives at border to cut ribbon for official border grand opening. Yeah, that's about right. All right, so I'm going to eat. I've done this several times where I'll cook as I do the podcast, and then I go on and on and on and on, and then I have to reheat my food. But okay, that's fine. And so, as I close, let's keep Laken Rilay in our thoughts, her family. Actually pray. You can pray for her and her family, for our country, for Biden, but just pray on it. I understand you may have been hurt in the past, and a lot of people who claim to be Christians aren't very Christian acting. But if you've ever taken your vehicle to a mechanic and had a bad experience, you didn't stop taking your vehicle to mechanics. Read the Bible. I've come to the conclusion now, I've read all of the New Testament and good chunks of the Old. And I have read many of the books behind me. I'm not going to read any more of these books until I've read the Bible from cover to cover. And even if you don't believe in God, I guarantee you do that, you'll learn something. It'll change your mindset on some level, in some way. It's the most famous book ever. Give it a read. You might find it interesting. So I will see you next time. Hope the week was good for you. I will see you tomorrow. Bye.
This is your life, and it's ending 1 minute at a time.
This war stops now. End the war. Bring freedom to our people.
No. No more tricks. No more lies. Only truth.
This is where we hold them! This is where we fight!